All right, this is Tim Cooke. I'm here with Connor Young, Soup, from My Name is Earl. Today we are giving the manager's commentary for the Saturday, July 14th, Stompers versus My Name is Earl game that was played in pool play. It was what we could term an instant classic. As soon as we watch the warm-ups, the Stompers, we batted 5 for this game. We batted 5 throughout most of the tournament. You guys went with a 3-man lineup and actually used your reserve, which we'll get to when that actually happens in the game. So, lineup. Putting together a lineup really isn't anything more than, wanting to get your best player as many at-bats as possible.
Exactly.
Here, my strategy, if there was really any strategy, was, get Jordan and Sarno the most at-bats. Make sure that Nick was split from me and Paul, because when he delivers, he's got some power. And then Paul bats 5th as a complement to getting on base and then having someone there for when Jordan gets up. So, game is about to get underway. We're not going to do this as an audio announcing type thing. We'll just check in from time to time as the game goes on, to discuss, certain situations, what the thinking was. So, here we go. I know we're going to go to the back angle in a second, which gives you a better view of the field. We didn't have that camera on early on. So, in the field for Earl, it's you, Blake, and Joe.
Yep. Joe at first, me at third. I just have a little more experience fielding, so we keep me at third and Joe first. But Joe's actually a very underrated fielder. His fielding percentage is pretty high, pretty up there.
You guys, especially when it's you or Blake on the mound, there's not a lot of balls put in play.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. That is what we are trying to accomplish every time we take the mound. Keep the ball out of the field.
So there's the first total base. This game's going to be largely based on total bases. In wiffle ball, or in Major League Baseball, that may sound boring. In wiffle ball, it's a lot more common, and it can be dramatic.
Yeah.
So a little trivia note: Chris Sarno was he was either going to be a Stomper or a member of ERL in the off season. Ended up being a Stomper, and has really been a really good surprise. I'm really glad he's playing with you guys down in Texas.
Yeah, he should be big for us. I think this is the year where he gets a lot more recognition among the rest of the fast pitch players, because Red is pitching at a top tier level right now, just as well as anyone in the game.
So there's the first out. You can see Blake getting loose. Was this your first game or the second game of the day?
This was our second game of the day, I believe. Yes, this was our second.
Yeah, and this was our second game as well. So historically, I haven't been a great hitter against left-handed pitching. It was like that in baseball in high school, and it's kind of carried over to wiffle ball. But the couple of lefties I faced this year, I've been able to see them a little bit better. So.
Yeah, I think with wiffle ball, a lefty just makes it it's a lot more difficult to pick up a lefty in wiffle ball than in baseball, being that there's really hardly any lefty pitchers. Blake's one of a handful that's actually out there throwing hard and throwing multiple pitches from multiple arm angles.
You guys actually have two lefties. Joe is a lefty on the mound, righty at bat.
He's a work in progress still on the mound, but he's getting there. We need to develop his second pitch a little more, get him a little more accuracy, and he could be a solid bullpen pitcher for us, no doubt. That's the plan, at least.
So Blake got Sarno out, but I walked, so it's first and second, one out. Nick Schaefer, a veteran. He has always had a little bit of an underrated bat. He's got some power, specifically to right center field, but he's also not afraid to take some hacks.
Very true. I've seen Schaefer put plenty of big swings on the ball, game-winning home runs. Blake was just barely missing the zone a lot this whole game. It may not look like it, but we very well could have won this game if he just eliminated a few walks.
So bases loaded, so that's on 3 walks, and it's clear he's just getting started. That was a really nice pitch to Paul. I'm not sure what you would have done with that other than grounded it right back to the pitcher. Blake's got a real clean delivery.
Yeah, he's got very good mechanics.
Easily repeatable.
The only thing he really needs to, one of the main things he needs to work on is just his pitch selection, working on not throwing the same pitch multiple times in a row. It was a great riser they just threw there. I would like to see him mix that in more. A lot of people are saying they think that might be his most effective pitch, especially for how far it's coming out from a righty. It's very hard to get around on and reach. And when he gets in a groove like that and is pounding the zone, I think that's when Blake's at his best.
So yeah, that was 4 strikes in a row after having a little bit of command issues early on. All right, so Chris Sarno is on the mound for the Stompers. It was interesting. He pitched the whole May 5th tournament and really did a heck of a job out there. He's really been a key contributor on the mound for the Stompers. I think you guys are close in strikeouts.
Yes, he's not too close. He's at around 141, and I'm at the 90 strikeout mark. But he won't be playing the next tournament, so there's a good chance that it'll just be me and Joe actually, and I'll be throwing a bulk of the innings. So there is a possibility I could catch him this next event, and it could come down to the wire for Strikeout King this year. I'm definitely not going to let it be easy on him.
Both you and Sarno will be active on the 18th of August out in Cannonsburg, where we run not a test tournament, but we're going out towards Pittsburgh to see if there's any real Wifflers out there, and maybe build up that base a little bit more. So then September 8th, the Mid-Atlantic playoffs with the top 6 teams. Right now the Stompers have the 1 seed. You guys have the 2 seed, and there's going to have to be a lot of crazy things to happen for that to change out of 1-2.
Yeah, we do have a chance this next event to finally gain some ground and maybe surpass Stompers if they're not in attendance playing. So, not that we wouldn't want them to play, but that wouldn't be the worst thing for us point-wise. So maybe we can steal that 1 seed from them with a top 3 or 4 finish.
So for anyone who's not familiar with the playoff system, this year the top 6 point getters get into the playoffs, and the top 2 seeds get buys into the best-of-3 series. So the 3, 4, 5, and 6 teams will play a double elimination bracket where they won't play the full-on double elimination. They'll just play until they get the final 2 teams, and then the 2 teams that come out of there one will face the 2 seed, one will face the 1 seed in a best-of-3, and then it'll be a best-of-3 final. So, as you see, Sarno getting loose here.
And going off what you were saying about the playoff championship tournament in September, the 1 and 2 seed, like you're saying, ends up being just absolutely huge because of the format with the 3, 4, 5, and 6 playing double elimination. That's 2 to 3 games that teams could be saved. The top 2 teams will not have to play, and they'll just be able to rest their best pitchers until that whole tournament's done, and they'll move on to the best of 3 series.
It's scary to think about what would happen if Dan Whitener was going to be available for the playoffs.
Yeah, we definitely wish we could have him. That would make our chances a lot better. But I still think we can. I think it'll still be just as competitive. Hopefully, a better series than last year. I think it will definitely be a lot closer. We definitely could use Dan, though. He's arguably, in my opinion, he is up there as the best pitcher in the country, if not already. But he's just he needs to come out to one of the big tournaments like Texas, which he will next year, and finally prove himself nationally to the rest of the country, everyone else playing competitive whiffs.
So you are leading off here. First, what bat are you using there?
I'm actually using Blake's Nerf. I've been using the Moonshot for most of the year, but earlier on in the day, I was really feeling comfortable with the Nerf. I had a home run with it in the first game off of Chris Owen, and I was just really feeling like that bat I was squaring things up with it.
That's a good piece there. We'll talk about this more as we get through the game, but I wanted you to talk about your approach at the plate, because I've seen you both be very patient, but I've also seen you go after first pitches, and both, having success in both situations, and obviously, not a lot of success as well. That's baseball, a game of failure.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you get too aggressive at times, or if you're too patient. As I show sometimes with my aggressiveness, and Joe will show you sometimes that he can be way over patient, ends up hurting him in the long run. But usually it varies case by case for me depending on the pitcher. With a guy like Red, I'm usually trying to get that first good strike he throws me, because Red is not that he's so-called, I wouldn't call him wild, but he's almost effectively wild, to where he'll throw a riser that's 4 feet above the zone, and then the next 2 pitches he'll hit a corner on the zone with that screwball. So I'm usually looking for that first good screwball he throws me, first good drop or first good riser, because I know the next one's he's going to throw me off with eye levels, pitch selection, and all of that.
Yeah, so Chris has been, one of the things we heard coming into the year was, he had some command issues. Early on this year, he really, especially in April and May, he didn't show any signs of that. But the last couple of tournaments, he's definitely fought his command at times. And like you said, almost to the point that it's effectively wild.
Yeah, he is, for the most part, he has pretty much proved all doubters wrong this year with his accuracy. In my opinion, he's been extremely accurate. And the games where he isn't as accurate, I think it's more so honestly worked in his favor. I haven't seen him lose any games off of, walking too many guys or getting too wild, anything like that.
So Blake, he's 19. He obviously has a great arm. I know one of the areas where he's looking to improve and where he'd really help you guys out is at the plate.
Yeah, anyone that's a lefty, in my opinion, you already have a head start as a hitter, whether it's baseball or wiffle ball. It's really a mechanics thing for him. If you look at old videos of myself, my old swing, it was it was much worse than anyone probably in MAW's is, and Blake is really just a few mechanics away from being able to square the ball up and put the bat on the ball.
So I got a good piece there. Paul Cooke, the third baseman, made a nice play there. The Stompers used 4 fielders, so we usually put Jordan over on the hitter's side, and Paul was on the other side, infield-wise, and then I was in the outfield. We had Nick DHing that game. So top second, it's 3-0 total bases in the Stompers' favor here as Red leads off. So Blake, he's got a bunch of pitches that he can go with. Hey, there's a little ball trick there. Like you said earlier, you think with his refined pitch selection, he can really understand. Yeah, that was a real nice kind of like off-speed offering there.
Yeah, and he kept it very tight on him too, so that Red couldn't really extend and get much on that ball if he did happen to connect with it.
So despite the number of times we've played you guys this year, which has been at least twice, if not 3, I'm kind of blanking on that, we haven't faced Blake, so this was our first time seeing him on the mound. You can watch video all day, but until you step into the box, it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, he was excited to pitch to Stompers this time. He knew he hadn't faced you guys yet. He knew for the most part I wanted to keep him, under wraps, away from the teams that we'll be facing later in the years. But I wanted him to get used to the batters on this team, see what everyone can hit, what works for guys, what doesn't. I wanted him to be a little more aggressive, just try and get ahead in the count right away, first pitch, so that he can, just go out there and dominate. Because he has all the physical attributes to be as good of a pitcher as he wants to be. It's more just an experience and a mental thing for him. Once he figures that side of the game out, he's going to be just as good as anyone.
So in this matchup, you've got the 19-year-old Hoffman against the 38-year-old Schaefer. So it really is a generation gap there. Nick has always been a little bit underrated on the mound, but he's always had an underrated bat. And like I was saying earlier, he's got power. He's a little bit of a free swinger, but that's where he generates some of his best at bats. And good pitch there by Blake to get him, and that is the end of the inning. So through the first 1.5, it's no score. Stompers 3, ERL nothing on total bases. So we head to the bottom of the second. So
see, that's what I was when I was talking about the riser that'll end up 4 feet above the zone or at the top of the backstop. That's the pitch right there, and then he'll come back with a screwball or a drop curve that'll just pound the zone. Right here, riser, right down the middle. You can't really. It's hard to look for that when a guy hits the top of the backstop the pitch before. Even if it's a cookie, it's so hard to pick up on the eye levels and get back focused in on that pitch in that location. He did it again. That one I kind of pulled off on, moved my head. That's a pitch that I know I can hit now. I used to struggle with the riser and the slider, but since I've changed my approach, I usually can find a way to put it in play. But Red was just really had me in my head this game. I was getting on Joe all game this game to finally pull the trigger, and it's a learning curve for him. But we saw earlier in the year when he did take rips against Red, he was hitting the ball. We got a triple off him that actually ended up winning the game for us. So it's more just an aggression thing for Joe. If he can get the barrel out there, he's got a great swing. He's got just as much pop as anyone on our team. It's really just an approach thing for him, being aggressive. He has tremendous power to both right and left. Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell with Joe where he's better off hitting the ball. When he just goes with the ball, I think he's really at his best.
So Joe in the championship series last October, he hit a solo shot off of Jordan Robles to right, which was just a real nice swing, and I think one of those. Probably one of the swings that you're talking about in terms of
just going with the ball. And that swing for Joe is almost like in terms of golf, when you hit that one really good shot that day on the course. You could have a bad day all day, but you hit that one really good shot and it makes you want to come back out. It gives you some confidence, and that was kind of what Joe needed in that spot there. I think if he can keep, and that like with that hit off Red too, if he can just keep getting some big marquee hits like that, I think that'll go a long way for him as a player.
So I noticed that's something that early on in April and May, I didn't see the selectiveness from Blake, and I think he did a real nice job there, making him get to throw a strike 3-0, and as we'll see, Sarno can have, some bouts of control issues, and Blake is able to get the walk there, and all of a sudden it's first and second.
Yeah,
and
when
one
Blake
out.
can turn the lineup over for me, that's always very huge. He was definitely putting together. Honestly, he might have been putting together the best at bats for us this whole game. And like putting me in situations like this is what we need. This is what I need those guys to do, so that I can have an opportunity to hit a ball to the fence, drive that run in.
So you're right on top of this. So you play in Palisades as well. Is there, tell me about the difference between the 4-2 count and the 4-3 or 5-3 that they play up in Palisades from a hitter's approach.
So up there, I'm a lot more patient. You'll see me. A lot of my hits will be maybe the third, fourth, fifth pitch of the at bat, rather than me trying to jump on that first pitch someone throws me like I did against Steffi. We were very aggressive against him. But when you're at Palisades, also they allow the unscuffed ball. So the unscuffed ball really adds a whole nother dynamic to hitting, whether you're righty or lefty. No matter how much the guy's throwing it, if you know he can throw it and throw it for a strike, it's one more pitch you got to look for. And for me, I got to change my whole approach when I'm looking for that pitch. And it's really tough to pick up on that pitch because of the unpredictable movement, and the pitcher doesn't really even know where it's going to go most of the time. So it's kind of just a guessing game sometimes in Palisades, but it's tough. It's a very tough adjustment. But I'm comfortable with both formats. I kind of like each in their own way. So there's positives and negatives to each, but overall it's not too hard to balance them out and get used to each. It's really not much of a learning curve for me. I've played pretty much every count, whether it be 2 strikes, 4 balls, 5 balls, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, or 4 and 3.
I know when we talked to Gerard Fitzgerald up at the yard tournament in early June, he hadn't played yet in one of our events, so his thing was he gets all his hits with 2 strikes.
Yeah.
So he wasn't sure how that was going to be, and when he came down for the June 16th event, it looked like that didn't really affect him at all.
Yeah, Gerard he'll say stuff like that, like it's gonna affect him, but Gerard is really at his best when he's just almost not thinking about anything like that and just going up there and being the raw hitter he is.
So all of a sudden, bases loaded for Earl, 2 down, but all 3 coming on, walks, good at bats.
Yeah, the guys really put together good at bats this inning, and we had our opportunities to score it. I could have stepped up, gotten a hit for us. Definitely there, I had my chance. Blake had a good shot there too. He kind of just gave in at the end there, but we're just missing pitches against Red this whole game. This is really such a close game. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean the old cliche of it's a game of inches.
Yeah,
Truly is.
Yeah, that is an understatement. It's unbelievable. This game definitely came down to inches, literally, in multiple situations.
So Paul's seen 3 pitches this game. All 3 of them are strikes. And then he got him to chase. Paul, one of his strongest abilities is his knowledge of the strike zone. Last year, only him and Jerry Hill had more walks than strikeouts in the league. And it's an underrated piece of his game. And, I guess a lot of us Wifflers, we don't look like your typical baseball players or anything. And Paul kind of, really, really shows that. He's, skinny, real skinny. He's kind of like you. Mm-hmm. And then you realize, this guy does have a clue about what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like you were saying, it's very underrated, the walk. If you can get on base, whether it's via walk, single, double, anything, it's honestly a walk to me it's just as important as a single, if not more important. You can hit a ground ball and you can get double played up, you get a walk. There's no one's taking you off the base pass that at bat. And it's a base runner. It's another guy on base. It allows the next guy up to hit a ball to the wall and bring a run in.
So 2 outs in the top of the 3rd here. So we're tied on total bases. Still no score, but total bases are 3-3. Blake's really starting to settle in here.
Yeah, Red was taking cuts at that screwball all game. He actually was talking to me after the game saying Blake needs to start mixing it up just a little bit more. Which I totally agree with. He was getting a little predictable as the game went on, relying on the same pitch in similar situations and counts.
And I think that's also a product of maturity.
Some inexperience.
Yep, he's real young. I mean, you really don't see anyone. You don't see a lot of players playing at this level who are 16 to 20. I think your really talented pool is probably 20 to 26, 27 right now.
Yeah, most definitely. The guys, it's a lot of the best players right now are within that age range and have been playing for roughly 3, 4 to 6 years. A lot of them playing, in their early teens, late teens, and then by the time they reach 23, 24, they're practically superstars of the sport.
So there was that riser again. That's he's been able to throw for strikes, and he's also just completely missed.
Yeah, and he just like you're saying, he just threw one into the dirt there, straight worm burner. And before that, the one I swung at one that was above my head. So now at this point in this at bat, I'm all thrown off. You don't know if he's throwing a drop. You don't know if he's throwing a screwball. You don't know if it's going to be anywhere near the zone. At this point, I'm just in protection mode, which kind of sucks because at this point I'm changing my whole mindset of an at bat from trying to drive something to I'm trying to just not get burnt again on another waste pitch.
Leave that alone for ball 2. It's interesting. On Sheffield, which is where this game is being played, the right field line is 70 feet. The wall up there is a lot taller than anywhere else on the field, but you've deposited a few of them in clutch situations over there.
Yeah, that's pretty much my fence at this point. It looks as if it's a very shallow porch, but with the fence being upwards of 9 to 10 feet and very right, it's you more so got to hit like an 85-foot shot to really get the ball out of there. And not to toot my own horn, but I do think a good amount of the home runs I have hit over there would have been shots on either field, considering they've been midway up a tree or in the top of it.
Yeah, I know the first tournament you guys played in with us in 2017, you hit a solo shot off of Danny Lanigan in the championship game, and that was right over that fence, but it went way back into the trees. That was gonna leave regardless of.
Yeah, I think I would say that was my marquee home run of the year, and it was weird. That was my first time out in over a year, and that was probably the best tournament I played all summer. That probably showcased my my abilities the best that day, value-wise.
So, an interesting thing about MAW running behind the scenes is you guys came out June 10th of 2017. So we had a 4-team tournament in April. When you guys came out, we had a 5-team tournament. And that was as good of a championship game as we had. And we really felt like you guys coming out and playing gave us some credibility and moved us forward a little bit. And it's funny because then you went out to California for a couple months.
Yeah, thought I might be done.
And I was like, "Oh, please come back. We wanna build this thing." And by I think you were back for August.
Yep, August 4th I came back, and it's funny because all summer while I was out there, I was literally thinking, all right, I have to be back at this point to make this event and this event so we can get the points and get into the playoffs. It was never in my intentions to not come back. It was more just a spur of the moment thing. And I went out there with the intentions of coming back and finishing out the season. Luckily, we got back and were able to, because we've been hooked ever since we came out. We saw the fields, the style they were playing. It's almost like an old school field too, like fast plastic, like the old days. It's almost like playing in one of the regions, I guess you could say, but a lot better and a lot more of like an at-home feel, backyard feel. This is just exactly what I was looking for when I took a break from wiffle ball for a year. I was waiting for something like this to come around, and this has been just perfect for us. And it's gotten us a lot of buzz. The articles, everything have been great. All the media and the teams and everyone that plays here is just an awesome wiffle ball player and equally as awesome of a guy. So it's been a lot of fun.
So on that play, that was out recorded by Jim Linhart. So Jim subbed in for Joe in the top of the 4th here. You want to talk about that decision?
Yeah, we figured with the way that game was going, we would get both of them in at some point. Because Jim has had success against the Stompers. He actually, believe it or not, he was in our first tournament out. He hit the game winner against them first time out.
Oh, yeah.
So we figured we'd get him some at-bats, too, because him and Joe both have had big hits for us. I was considering just going with a 4 and batting all of us to begin with, but I figured the way Red's been throwing with a 9-2 record and his ERA and strikeout rate being what it is, we needed to go 3 and maximize our at-bats.
So Blake's really settled in here. He's commanding multiple pitches. I know at this point I wasn't sure what was coming out of his hand. Still hadn't figured that out yet.
Yeah, and that's because when he's working ahead in those at-bats. So when he's working ahead, he doesn't have to throw his most accurate pitch. He doesn't have to think the mindset, okay, I have to throw the screwball here. I have to throw the drop here. He says, okay, I can get nasty here and throw whatever I want and pick a corner and get in someone's head rather than, just trying to pound the zone with the same pitch, because that's how we got beat early in the year against the Risers. He was just pounding the screwball. And eventually Dave was sitting on one and put it over the wall. And against good hitters like that, you really got to mix it up. They'll definitely make you pay. You can't throw 2-3 pitches in a row to a guy the same pitch. When I was young, I learned that the hard way as well. Sometimes, and that's honestly the best way to learn, is by losing games sometimes and knowing that feeling of, oh my God, that was such a stupid mistake. If I just make this one little adjustment, we win that game. That
was a great hold there. It's tough. It's tough in baseball to check swing. It's even tougher in Wiffle, especially with where Sarno's been around the strike zone.
Yeah, and he knows that's my pitch too. He knows I'm a screwball hitter, and he knows if he throws that even a little bit, if that can hit the plate, he could bounce it on the plate, and there's a chance I'll swing sometimes, just because I'm such a fan of attacking the screwball.
So that was a big at bat. So that was a 4-pitch walk. So in the bottom of the 4th, the total base situation now puts Earl up 4-3 and a runner on first as well. So Jim has his first plate appearance after entering the game defensively in the top half of the inning.
And me being the terrible manager I am, I believe I told him not to swing until he gets a strike, which evidently looks to be the case. But he understands. These guys know I'm just trying to put us in the best opportunity to win. Sometimes a base runner, a walk, will be the difference, trying to generate that, get guys on first and second, put 2 guys on for me, so that way I can just put something to the wall and get that run in.
So that's, I think, 7 straight balls from my count from Sarno, and then he throws a screwball over there for a strike. Someday, when MAW gets big enough, we'll have interns that are able to just run onto the field and gather the ball and send it back to the pitcher. But
I would much rather us be able to pay out than have nice little ball boys running around. No offense to any organizations out there.
So that's the effectively wildness of Sarno there. Goes 3-0 and then comes right back with 2.
Yep, and that's why it's so frustrating. He got down 3-0 against James, and I probably loudly said to James, red light, and then immediately he comes back with 2 screwballs right down the middle, and it's very frustrating when you're trying to coach your guys up, and then what you told them to do ends up being the wrong thing, and he ends up making a couple great pitches.
So at this point, Blake's gone opposite field for a fly ball out, and everything he's fouled off has been down that line. So we decided to move 2 in, and this ball's hit right back to me, and I just completely botched that. And that is just what you can't do in a game, especially based on total bases.
Yeah, it's interesting. We saw Jim make a play this game, and you miss one. That is very, very rare in this day and age, James making a play.
And we're going to see defense is going to be a factor as we head towards the later innings here. So right now it's 5-3 total bases.
Now we go chasing that again.
There's that riser.
It's very tempting. It's sitting there and you think it's just gonna hover, but all of a sudden it just takes off and it slides right over my bat. I look at that pitch like if I hit it, it's gonna go because it's up there. It's a riser, it's just going to take off. But it's so hard to square that up because it's just running away from you.
So first and second, 0-1 for Jim. Yeah, as Soup was talking about earlier, Jim's MAW debut, June 2017. I think he definitely hit one home run, if not two, off of Stompers left-handed veteran Dan Eisenberg, who wasn't able to take advantage of the lefty-lefty matchup. There's a good pitch from Sarno.
Yeah, James is not the one to come up with the big hit, but that day he did. The first game we got out there, it was very, very interesting. We were almost not ready for it. Me and Joe had a couple singles, and then James ran into one, and I just went out there and did my thing on the mound. James, I think, has 2 home runs in his career for maybe 3, and both of them have been game winners. So it's pretty crazy to think about.
So here in the top of the 5th, Stompers are down 5-3 total bases after 5. It's if it's still tied with total bases, you continue. But if Blake retires the side without any bases this inning, the game is over. So it's 5-3 ERL. It's a 2-1 count to Jordan Robles, who's leading off the inning for the Stompers.
And you can see Blake's almost just overthrowing a little bit. He's just kind of throwing darts at some pitches. He's just missing, but it's really just mechanics that's throwing him off a little bit, as you can see there on that at bat. I'm walking over to him pretty often, telling him just keep attacking the zone, trust your stuff, because he has the movement and the velocity to really get anyone out. He just needs to attack the zone and work smart and get ahead. But evidently here he's getting behind again, and it's not a way to work at a batter. You really want to get that first strike, or if not the first pitch, even the second pitch, with it being a 2-strike count. You can start a count 1-2 and you're fine. And that's a lucky play by me there.
But it's just as tough to turn that. So 5-4 total bases here, 2 outs. And I'm coming to bat right now. The walk earlier to Jordan in the inning, I mean, Jordan's a very selective hitter. He takes a bunch of pitches, so...
Yeah, if you want to beat Jordan, you're really going to have to beat him. And that right there was a very crucial play in the game. You can see I'm very livid over there, walking around pitcher's mound, head down. James is an athletic kid. Usually I expect him to just at least, get to that ball and knock it down before it hits the fence. I have no problem with the ball, running up on you, but you got to get there and stop that before it hits the fence, because at this point in the game, each base runner is just so crucial, especially the way these guys are throwing.
So with that being a double, because it did get to the wall, that puts the Stompers up 6-5 in total bases here in the top of the 5th. And I remember off the bat thinking, I made weak contact, and then I was already out of the box, turned around, and didn't even see that it got to the wall. So
yeah.
That's, ended up being, pretty crucial at bat. So now, bottom of the 5th, Stompers are up 6-5 total bases, and Blake's leading off against Sarno.
And now, if you look back at the strategy being played in this game, I did pull Joe for James, so that could have ended up being a big play there. Had I not maybe pulled Joe, maybe Joe stays down on that ball and we get the out there. So it's little things like that too that I could have made adjustments on. Maybe flop those two, had Jim start early, Joe go late, with Joe having just a little bit more experience than James and seeing red a little better.
So the Stompers made a defensive switch here. You see Nick Schaefer's now in the field. After my error, I wasn't going to allow that to happen again. So there's Blake with a huge leadoff walk. So that ties him total base-wise.
And there I am swinging at that riser for the 9th time this game and punching my bat in frustration. Which is nothing new to me. I definitely get mad and tend to take it out on my bat. There it is. And I can promise you there's more to come. There's So it's a frustrating game, especially when you're playing. This is, like I said, this is the 5th inning, so I've had maybe 5, 6, 7 at bats against Red at this point. He's struck me out every time, so it's frustrating. You expect when you see a guy that many times, you're gonna get one, But
Yeah.
Red was on this day. He was very effective mixing.
So he's getting ahead of Jim and then just went right back down.
And Jim, he was. I don't want to say he missed that by much. He was pretty much right on that. It's really just his mechanics are a little wompy, a little late. If he just makes a couple adjustments, he could at least put that ball in play. And if you put the ball in play, a wiffle ball is a very hard ball to field. So you put a ball in play, hard ground ball, it's very possible a guy can drop it. I can't tell you how many errors I've seen just on even simple ground balls in wiffle ball due to the lightness of the ball or the way it hops and so forth.
So with Sarno's velocity, with both Blake and Jim, we decided to go with 2 guys on the left side because we saw that Blake had already gone the other way, and we figured Jim was going to be a little bit late. We played this alignment for those 2, but then when you come up, I think we go back to the one guy in the outfield because we want to cover the doubles, and you've got power to. You have power to all fields, but specifically to center and to right.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I used to actually, all of my power used to always be to left center or left field growing up, even in baseball. And then as the years went on, I took that break, and then I came out last year, and I just totally changed my style. I calmed down a lot in the box, and now I'm clearly a pull hitter, which is very interesting. Man, I almost don't hit opposite field that much unless it's a very outside pitch. It's almost hard for me to just go with the pitch now rather than try and pull everything.
So 1 strike away there from the game being over with Earl having a total base win. Blake did a nice job. He fouled off that 3-1 pitch, and he's had. You can see, especially if you've been watching him, he's getting better offensively. So again, starts Paul off with a strike, and this at bat is what Paul does. He knows the strike zone. I've deployed him in different positions. I've had him lead off occasionally. Later in this tournament against the Lemonheads, I moved him to 4th. I was trying to split up Jordan and him, our real on-base guys, against our power, which is Sarno and Nick. And then I'm more of a contact hitter, but I also take my walk occasionally. So Paul really brings some diversity there. He fouls off a real good pitch. That was going to definitely hit the zone.
Yeah, I think. Oh, my bad.
Oh no, it really is about just fouling stuff off and
getting to see another pitch, making a guy pitch, because it's not too easy to throw a strike in the wiffle ball all day. If you can make a guy have to throw another couple pitches just like that, Paul gets ball 3. This is one of the at bats that I was really trying to key in on Blake to go after guys, especially late in the game, because in these extra innings with bases, every base is going to count. And once again, he's just missing with that pitch. He's not really following through. It's almost like he's getting soft and just kind of forgetting his rhythm, getting out of his groove. But I think if Blake can turn that page and really start just attacking hitters and knowing he has the stuff to do it, that's when he's really going to see him blow up. Because he's taking big steps every time he comes out, mentally, maturity-wise, and just talent.
So man on first, the Stompers are now up in total bases with Jordan Robles up 2-0.
This is the guy you want up if you're the Stompers, ideally. Yeah. Really almost any team. Jordan is a very clutch player, very consistent. If you need a guy who's going to put together one really solid at-bat in a situation, he's one of the few guys you would want up there in this game.
I think MAW's really lucky to have a bunch of really, really good two-way players, and Jordan and yourself are as good as a two-way player combination anywhere right now, especially in the tournament scene. Palisades has a lot of those players as well, but
yeah, that is it's a very valuable I think the guys that can do that end up being those of the most value, like a T-Weg as well. T-Weg is he won't come off as an ace pitcher, but he'll come out there and he'll go 4-0 on the mound in pool play, and then he'll hit 350 throughout the day. So it's those guys who can really get wins on the mound, be consistent on the mound, and just hit all day that are the really, really, really valuable players. There's not a lot of them. So a lot of the guys that do throw very, very hard, very great, their bat doesn't match their arm, which is obviously expected, because it's kind of hard to do that when you're throwing with the ball 100 miles an hour. But.
So you guys made that play look fairly easy, but that is not an easy play, especially because it just got over the fair play line.
Yeah.
And so the throw back to second isn't particularly easy, and certainly the throw home isn't, and that's where it really helps to have a pitcher out as a fielder.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to Blake after that. I was very happy with that play he made there. I'll be the first to start freaking out and yelling where to throw it to. But Blake instantly he stayed relaxed. He knew that the play was the second that we could get to instead of one, and he took his time. He gave me for throwing a ball, 15, 20, 25 feet, without throwing it your hardest. It's hard to control, and he put that right where I needed to, so I could just catch it and lay a riser into the backstop like I have been doing for a long time. The double play is a very fun play once you get used to it and your guys are ready and they know how to execute it. It's really a lot of fun. It's an exciting play, and it's always nice as a pitcher to get it.
Oh, no doubt about that. So 3-1 count here. Stompers are up a total base,
and that's gonna end up being a huge base again. This game's so hard for me to watch in ways because I had so many opportunities to make something happen, even just in little ways. Like if I just would have not swung at that's a base runner, and we probably win this game.
So Jim takes a good strike. There was nothing he was going to do with that pitch.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's up. It's hard to even it's hard to pull the trigger on that, yet alone make contact.
Oh, that's right. So that's
the play.
A headshot in MAW is a hit by pitch. Anything else is any other body part. It's just a ball. So that ties the game back up on total bases.
Yep.
And Blake takes a good cut there.
And it's hard not to laugh at that type of play, especially when it happens to somebody like Jim. It's always entertaining, and that is the most frustrating thing as a pitcher, especially when you're up on a guy and you beat him in the head and you're like, oh my goodness, I was up 0-2 and a ball just got away from me and now I gave a base away. It's very frustrating, but I think it's a good rule. It makes pitchers have to be careful, like how the backstop pass ball rule is. You really got to try and stay within yourself and within the backstop zone if you don't want to hurt yourself too much with bases.
So Blake did a real nice job fouling that last pitch off. That was definitely going to hit the zone, and he really showed, as we've been talking about, not only this game but all tournament. Really took a nice small step forward at the plate, and there he just gets fooled.
Yep, and statistically, at the plate wise, it may not have shown a ton, but he was just putting together great at bats all day. We were very happy to see Blake take that step and be one of our toughest hitters all day. He was not an easy out for anyone. He's fouling off pitches late in at bats, making guys work, and that's honestly a lot of times that ends up being the difference in wiffle ball. A guy gets tired, has to throw another 10, 15 pitches, and that adds up. If you're doing that all game, you're making a guy work. He's throwing 20, 25 more pitches than he planned to at that point if you're going 9 innings, like this one does.
So, big 3-1 pitch here because of base.
And for once, I lay off the riser.
So
It's been very tough for me to do all game.
This is a really big pitch here.
And what do you know?
Yeah,
I swing again.
So
you gotta love it.
I hadn't seen you break a bat yet. Paul told me that that's not the first time you've broken a bat in MAW competition over your knee.
That's my second in MAW this year, and honestly, lifetime, that's probably 15, 16. I couldn't even tell you. It's too many. Especially a loco. I don't know. Something about a loco. I always end up snapping it over my knee. Growing up, like in Golden Stick and so on, random tournaments. Especially when it's such a frustrating at-bat like that. I lose it. I definitely have some anger issues I could work out. But, it's better taking it out on the bat than maybe on, like, Joe or someone, which I do tend to do sometimes. But it's all in good love. And Joe's one of those kids you just got to push him the right way. And I probably push Joe harder than anyone on the team just because I know he has it. He just really needs to dig deep.
That was a great 2-0 pitch. That wasn't just to get me over. That's the and that was just an excellent pitch. I mean, that was inside, low corner. There was nothing. I mean, if I swung at it, I was just going to swing through it.
Yeah, it's really an unhittable pitch. There's nothing anyone can do with that. See, that's that riser. When he mixes that in, even if you make contact there, all you can really do is pop it up because you're just so out in front of it. It's very effective. It's almost like a changeup, but it's not. It's just got such weird late break that you kind of throw your bat out in front of it way too early as a righty because you're reaching for it as it kind of tails back in. It's tough.
That's a really good pitch too. I mean, out of the hand, especially seeing it here on tape. Yeah, I mean, Nick, that was the strikeout pitch to me and the strikeout pitch there. Those were really, really, really quality pitches.
Yeah, and as a lefty, when you can keep that screwball in really tight like that and just paint the inside corners, it's almost impossible for a righty to hit it.
So here comes Paul with 2 outs. Nobody on, takes ball 1.
And that's a 1-0. You don't want to throw that 0. You want to get near the zone, at least something that you can get a guy to at least swing at. This is another instance of Blake just getting behind in the count in a situation where we really, really need him to get up. And I know I'm being hard on him in this video, but I think when he watches this, he'll see these little breaking points in the game where if he could have just flipped the script on them, he would have put himself in a better position. Not that he pitched phenomenal, don't get me wrong. When a guy throws 6, 7, 8 innings of shutout whiffs, you need to get him a run. I would be very upset myself if I was the pitcher. But it happens sometimes. You got to almost expect a guy to be dealing along with you and it be a pitcher's duel every game. So in your mind, you almost got to think, I got to be perfect sometimes. Which almost isn't the best mindset. It can make you crumble, but to myself at least, I'll tell myself I need to not give up even a base, and we can win the game.
So a 2-out walk puts the Stompers up by 1 total base here in the top of the 7th.
Yeah. And the main thing about that walk is not only is it a base runner, but you give Jordan another at-bat, and that's at this point you don't want to give guys like Jordan and Red any more at-bats with them already having had 6, 7 at this point. So this could be the type of at-bat that breaks a game open and really just closes it out. But you don't want to let guys like this up. You don't want to let the 4th or 5th guy turn the lineup over, which Paul has always done a great job of.
So Blake, he gives up the walk, but he's not showing at least any visible frustration out there.
Yeah, he's calm as a cucumber out there.
And there's that pitch again.
Yep.
That's down. I don't even know what that is, out of his hand, and he gets out of it. So Stompers are up a total base here, and in between the top half and the bottom half, Jordan decided that, all right, up a base now with Red having thrown 6 innings, let's try to close it out here. So he comes into the game, and this is the second game of the day. Jordan, we usually try to save for the later rounds, but that's also how important this game is, and we're deep into extras in pool play, and this was a tournament where we had 9 teams, so a 2-2 didn't give you necessarily an advancement.
Correct. And Jordan being the competitor that he is, we almost kind of had a feeling as soon as if this game got really late, he would come in at some point. Jordan's arguably one of the best competitors I've ever played against. He does not like to lose at all, more than anyone, which is very respectable. But it's a risky move to bring your ace in this early. But at the same time, if you can get the win, then it's very worth it. Because you don't want to burn your main guy's arm early in the day, but if you can get this win, then you set yourself up to a point where he maybe has to throw less innings later because of a win you got earlier in the day.
So Jordan, I believe this is the first 2018 MAW tournament where he is pitching in pool play. So it's also one of the rare opportunities for a save situation. We don't usually see that.
Yeah, it's the save position is very underused in wiffle ball, which I think makes sense considering the game is a lot shorter. And a lot of the times when you have a guy on, when you have a guy pitching and he's going 6-7 innings and he's shutting the team out. It's almost like why would you mess with that? A lot of guys look at it like that, I think. But I think when you have someone like Jordan who can constantly pound the zone, hit spots, that it's a good move. And he throws, I want to say he throws a little harder than Red. I don't know. It's close, but it's different style, so he can throw you off.
Yeah, it's you're definitely right. I'm not sure that there is more velocity, but Jordan pounds the zone so much.
And the movement's a little different too.
Yeah.
The style. The wind-up will throw you off too.
So, I mean, that's a great pitch.
Yeah, you need a tennis racket really to do anything with that.
So again, the Stompers' defensive alignment, we're figuring that Blake's going to go the other way.
Yeah.
So 2 down now, down to the final out. It's Stompers are up 1 total base, and you step to the plate.
And going into this at bat, I knew I would get at least 1 drop, so that's what I was looking for. That I thought really that pitcher right there was the only chance I was going to get. I didn't think Jordan would come back again with even a strike. I thought he was going to go riser here, but he ends up throwing me another drop. And absolute psychopath. But
clutch.
I for some reason I tend to come up with a hit with 2 outs, and it's always a single, of course. But it's that ball. I thought I got all of it at first, and it was at least, if not getting over, gonna hit the wall on a bounce or something. But it hit that grass, and it just kind of died on me and ended up a foot or so short of the fence. Had that hit the fence,
Game's over.
we would have won the game. But we're ERL, and our luck has definitely been shit this year. So you almost kind of know that's not going to happen for us.
That was also, for a game that hasn't had really any hard contact, that was by far the best contact so far. So Jordan gets out of it. We don't have blown saves, but if there is a blown save in wiffle ball, that potentially is. So we continue on. Total bases tied up. Blake's back out there for the 8th.
This is turning into a marathon at this point. It's really, at this point, you start thinking maybe someone, rather than just winning on bases, will score a run with these guys having thrown 75 innings at this point in this game. There's me trying to run. I run like a duck, so some of those balls that are reaching the fence, it's a struggle to get to. I'm not quite as quick as I used to be. Jim really not putting in the effort to get there either, which you gotta love. But I don't remember. I think that reached the wall. If I'm not mistaken,
it
was
did
double?
reach the wall. Yeah, and it's it's funny because that was a good piece of hitting by Sarno, but it was on the ground. And again, not to go back to the whole game of inches thing, but your hit in the bottom half of the inning was struck
equally as hard.
Yeah, probably better.
Yeah,
and that's just where sometimes the things roll.
Yeah. That's how wiffle ball is. It's you kind of just gotta suck it up and deal with it, and you can't look at it as that we really got screwed. It's more just a couple things just didn't go our way. It's not even like we lost the game on a talent standpoint. It's really just a few things we could have done differently mentally that would have honestly changed the outcome. And those inches that we're talking about that mattered so much, maybe wouldn't have ended up hurting us in the end. We wouldn't have needed them so much.
So here's an interesting spot. So with a guy on second, we're up 9-7 total bases, but we want to get that run in. I mean, that run's important. So Blake, he came back, got me, and then he comes right after Nick gets him, and I think that's the other step forward too on the mound where, okay, you know what? Can't do anything about that double. Put it out of your head and go to the next guy.
Yeah, and just going after the batter. Blake has. It looks like he has very good focus every time he takes the mound. It's just sometimes based off his performance, you think he's maybe worried about something else going on in the field or something is sidetracking him. But he's pretty focused for the most part. I think he's only going to get better and better, and his mind as a pitcher will develop. And that's when he does that. When he finally starts figuring out that he can just make guys look foolish, he's going to be a serious problem.
And there he goes to get out of it. So,
yep.
No, limits the damage, gets you guys back up, and we go to the bottom of the eighth with the Stompers up. Total bases.
And 2 bases is a tall, even 2 bases is a tall order against a guy like Jordan, especially when he has a lead and he knows he's just 6 strikes away from ending the thing.
So, interesting here. Sarno went 6 innings, he walked 6. Blake went 8 innings, he walked 6. So, pretty even. Blake, obviously going the extra 2 innings. That's a good layoff. Jordan also is very good at the actual, construction of pitches. He's
very
not.
true.
Yeah, he's not just up there throwing. His sequencing is exceptional.
Yeah, he has certainly mastered the art of pitching. Even being a guy that doesn't throw, most people would think a lot of different pitches. He's mastered. Even if you want to call him, you can call him a 2 or 3 pitch guy. That's fine. He has figured out to do more than enough with just those 2 or 3, 4 pitches.
So 1 out. Jordan told Paul, I think last year, that one of the things his dad taught him about baseball early on as a pitcher was to throw strikes.
Yep.
And, if you pound the zone, you're going to let up a hit or 2, but at the same time, you're not going to let a walk hurt you. And
exactly.
He pounds it. That was I guess a change-up curveball there.
Yeah, it almost looks like he tried to throw the 12-6 pitch that myself and a few guys throw, where you kind of throw it over the top and it just kind of comes down like a 12-6 or like an ephus ball. But it looks kind of funny when Jordan throws it. I don't think he has as much experience throwing it. But if he could control that, it would be very interesting to see how effective that could be for him. I think it could be effective for him, seeing that he throws the ball so hard in his other pitches. Having a pitch that could just drop into the zone like that would really mess with the hitter's head and give you another thing to look for.
So Earl's down to the last out here with Jim. Goes 2-0 here. We've got defensively, we got the same alignment in. Probably should have put one guy back, but I was also fairly confident that if Jordan's going to if he's going to miss, it's not going to be right over the plate.
Yeah.
So.
And you can see he's kind of taken a little off of it here almost, which you kind of worry about. Like not saying Jim is going to put one over the wall, but I mean anyone, if you take a little off and you do accidentally hang one, you could end up just getting soft for one pitch and making that mistake. But Jordan, being the smart pitcher he is, he didn't leave anything over, obviously, to a guy that he knows he can beat 9 times out of 10, if not every time.
So Jim did a real nice job. So now it's 9-8 total bases. He's on first, extends the inning. Yeah. And, you never know. That was a rare 4-pitch walk from Jordan.
Yeah. And him getting that first strike there is just very big. Even though Jordan could get down 3-0 and still probably come back from a count, just throwing 2 strikes straight, which he's done so many times, it's still just very big to get that first strike, especially when you don't have a base to give, like he did in this situation.
So that's the game. that put the Stompers up 2-1 in the season series. All the games have been really, really close. The first one in April was a 1-0 Stompers win.
Yeah.
The one in May was a 1-0 Earl win. And here, a 0-0 Stompers win on total basis.
Yeah, it's been a crazy rivalry this year, and you could hear everyone watching even applauding that matchup as soon as it ended, because that was a treat to get to watch a pool play if you were just waiting around.
Yeah, that's something that I've never seen. I mean, we didn't have a huge crowd around there. I note the 19 strikeouts for Blake, just ridiculous. But yeah, there was an audible applause, which really shows just how intense and how everyone was into that game.
Yeah, even the guys that were sitting around, that guys have been sitting for an hour and a half or two waiting for their game, and they were still sitting there just so into it. Didn't want to leave the field. No one going to get food, anything. Who wanted to see that matchup?
I mean, it was a really, really good effort from Blake out there. I was just impressed that he went the full 8 and did what he needed to, and there's no shame in a 0-0.
Yeah, especially with 19 strikeouts. That's definitely a very eye-popping number. Just to show he was that both pitchers were very dominant that game. It's not like any guy really lost that game if you really think about it. They both pitched unbelievably. All three of them, if you include Jordan as well.